let's talk about it. Our Woj.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, so lots to discuss. First, let's address the Utah series. So, one, they extend 2028, but two, there's a 2-year hiatus. What do you think?
Obviously, I don't like it. As a player, and you'll talk to Utah players, BYU players, former players. In fact, we have a little text thread with some former players, and we're all saying, man, this is a bummer because all the players love it. I think the fans love it. And the fact to take a 2-year hiatus is a little disappointing. But I get where Utah's coming from as well. They were trying to schedule a team and get Florida in there, and so had to shift some stuff around. But it's a bummer that BYU's on the short end of the stick on that one.
Yeah, Utah has all the leverage, it feels like, in this. And we were discussing, well, maybe there's something Utah could do for BYU. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know what the behind-the-scenes conversations are.
I think BYU is a nice business partner, and that's what it is.
Yeah, listen, I think with TV deals coming up, and there's a lot of stuff in the works that we don't know about. And so I'll be surprised.
Or that we know about that we're not going to tell you.
Yes. One day you guys will all find out. No, I think, who knows what the motives were behind it as far as from BYU side to give it up. I mean, Tom Homo, he mentioned, yeah, we want to be good partners, but that's a big concession to give up to Utah and say, yeah, go ahead back out of 2 games with us, and we'll trust it'll come back around at some point. So who knows? But it is a bummer. At the end of the day, it is a bummer because I think everyone looks forward to that game, including the players. And there'll be some players that literally won't be able to play in that game for 2 years worth, and that's part of the best thing about college football are these rivalries, and you're gonna have to take a 2-year break. So
that would have been Jaron Hall's senior year, by the way. Yeah. So
that's why we said winning that one right before the break gives that winner of that game 3 years to enjoy it.
Just right there, and you have bragging rights for the offseason for a couple years.
That game will be in Provo before the break.
In 21.
BYU, that's our opportunity. Let's go.
Yay! 3 years from now.
Then too.
Start focusing on then.
All right. So then the news today. A lot of scheduling news.
Yeah.
Central Florida and Rice 2-game series, home and home for BYU football. What do you make of those?
I love them. I love them because of where they're located. When you think about going down to Texas to Houston, as well as going to Florida, this is what BYU needs to do in order to get athletes like a Tyson Williams. You get the exposure to different states, and of course, those are hotbeds for recruiting. And so
College Station in particular, right?
Yes, definitely. That's where all the best athletes come out of. No, but I love it because of, like I said, recruiting. I think for fans, it's fun to travel. You hear about the fans loving to go to Tennessee this year, so going back east, kind of some different venues. And
Disney World is in Orlando.
Of course. Listen, I think Rice as well. Rice is one of those mid-tier programs that's kind of down right now that for BYU, you're not facing another top 25 opponent like they are this year. So it's not as a brutal of opponent like we've seen with the USCs and Washingtons this year. So I think it's a great scheduling because of, like I said, because of the location, because of the opponent, and then of course getting a home and home with them is obviously big as well.
UCF certainly on everyone's radar right now. It'll be interesting to see in a couple of years where they're at. I have a scheduling framework. I think that what BYU is doing right now doesn't lend itself to 10-win seasons, right? Do you have an ideal, say, number of Power Fives or anything on the schedule? Because for me, I'm like looking at those 22 and 23, and it's like, 4 Power Fives, 5 Power Fives. I'm good. I'm good with that amount.
Listen, I'm saying load them up as much as you can. Put all Power Fives on there if you can. Here's the problem with this year's schedule is they're all ranked. All Power Fives are ranked this year, and they're all top tier of the Pac-12, right? I mean, of course, Tennessee was down in the SEC, but the thing with BYU is they're scheduling the top programs of each P5. It's not like you're going after the Oregon States and the Rutgers and
Kansas.
That's right. BYU's targeting the best of the best, and so yes, it's tough to get those wins, but also you're playing in cool venues and you're not going to a stadium that's half full or half empty on the road, and so it's tough. It's a tough one to balance. I love the fact you just keep piling on the P5s.
So you would prefer to go 6 to 8 wins because that's what
100%.
Historically is it? You would rather do that?
I'd rather do that.
Okay.
I mean, because you have the opportunity to get to 10. Versus playing, versus playing a whole bunch of New Mexico states and New Mexicos. And
well, that's
high risk, high reward. Basically.
That's one end of the spectrum. Yeah, because you can play the UCFs, and it's going to be a good game. Let's be honest, that's better than the low Power 5 end, right? Would you rather play Oregon State or UCF? UCF, right?
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you could still get Boise State and Houston and UCF and these kinds of teams on the schedule.
Yeah, that's why exactly.
is.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I like about the UCF is you're not scheduling some cruddy AAC team. You're going for the top. So I respect what Tom Homo's doing. I think it's I love Independence for this reason, because you have the opportunity to play on back-to-back weeks on ABC like we saw these last few weeks with BYU, and you get the exposure that you want through Independence.
Exposure can be negative.
It can be negative, but you look
somewhat negative last week.
You look at the USC game. I mean, that was huge.
That's the risk.
BYU was the lead-in to SportsCenter.
Yeah.
Look, I was walking around Kansas City this past weekend, and I was wearing BYU stuff, and I had people coming, hey, great game against USC. We saw that because it went across the country.
And I think those games can still exist in kind of my scheduling framework. It's just not so many that you, one, get banged up by the fourth game, right? And then you have little juice, and then you hope that you stay healthy. And I'm not saying the Tyson Williams injury is directly that. I'm just saying generally. All these linebackers banged up right now. Now you play the next four that we've called them. Toledo, at South Florida, Boise State, Utah State. This is, I think, tougher than people think. I think people think it's not a Power 5, so it's going to be easy. You are very wrong if that's what you think, in my opinion. What do you think?
I would agree. It's not going to be as easy. So I think you start off with the four tough ones, then you've got mediocre, and then the end is the cupcakes, right? So, yeah, there's no doubt these teams are going to be tough. And you look at, USF, who's been struggling. They still have athletes on the field, and BYU always struggles matching up with athletes. Toledo's 2-1. They kept it close with Kentucky in their first game of the year, so they're a formidable opponent as well.
500 yards or something?
They're 11th in the country as far as rushing goes. I mean, these guys love to rush the ball. They don't pass it as much. This is a tough four-game stretch as well. But I will say the talent level and the size of the offensive lineman, defensive lineman, and especially the skill positions drops off significantly when you start going against these type of opponents. And so that's what BYU, I think, will match up much better on that front. And I think you'll start to see down the trenches specifically. So the offensive and defensive linemen, I think you'll see that's where it'll start to play out more. Where you'll start to get more pressure on the quarterback versus what we've seen the last few weeks.
Jerem referenced the injury to Tyson Williams. He found out he tore his ACL in his left knee. Certainly a huge blow. He was playing so well. I mean, just looking at the stats, just what he had brought to that rushing attack. How big of a loss is that for the offense?
Yeah, obviously it's been talked about the last few days. It's massive loss. He was by far the best player on this offense side of the ball, better than I think even Zach Wilson's performing. He was averaging over 5 yards per carry. So he's that workhorse. You knew you could give him the ball. And what I loved about Tyson was his pad level, his shoulder lean. I mean, when he'd get hit, he'd still lunge forward for another 1 or 2 yards, which is a luxury that BYU hasn't had for quite a few years. So the other guys have to step up. Asupa had a great game. He came in and filled in well. We've seen glimpses of brilliance from him. Katoa's got to find himself and continue to, now he's got to build some confidence. He got buried on the depth chart for a little while, but now he's got to step up. And so, I think for Zach Wilson, now that you're step into where you're facing these opponents that aren't as difficult as the USC's and Washington's of the world, I think they'll be able to air it out a little more, and especially this week against Toledo. They struggle in the pass defense, and so hopefully they can put together a game plan that still gets Katoa and Asupa involved, but also lets Zach just sit back and hopefully pick them apart.
BYU right now in rushing defense is bottom 25 in the country. They've played some good running backs, some good offenses. The matchup with Toledo. And Bryant Kobach had 238 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. How do you see that matchup between BYU's kind of banged up linebackers and rush defense against Toledo?
Yeah, I watched that second half of that Colorado State game. In fact, I tweeted something out. I could not believe it. It's like handoff touchdown. Another Colorado State handoff touchdown. It was a crazy game, but they can run the ball. But I think BYU does match up well, like I said, on this front because of the front three, we call it, really the front four. I wouldn't be surprised if BYU throws in another defensive lineman because Toledo doesn't throw the ball as much as some of these other teams do.
Do you expect BYU to put more pressure in the box?
I do think so. And I think to tighten up the backers as well. So if you look at the BYU backers, have been really spread out. We call them apex, where they walk out to between the slot receiver and the offensive lineman. I think you'll see them start to work their way back in the box to provide that run support. But yeah, they're going to have to, because Toledo's is a run-first offense. So you've got to establish your identity as a defense first, come in and really make sure you make them one-dimensional, make them pass the ball, and then that's where hopefully your secondary steps in and causes some turnovers.
As BYU heads into this week, the record right now is 2-2. How do you view 2-2?
You know what? I'm happy with 2-2. When you look at it from a high level, I'm happy with 2-2. What I'm not happy with is how this last game played out with the blowout by Washington. I feel like BYU was really never truly competitive in that game, and I think that's where you kind of take a step back and you go, okay, so which BYU team are we getting? Are we getting the USC? Are we getting the Washington team? And I think that's been the problem these last few years of BYU's. You're never quite sure what team's going to show up on Saturday. And so hopefully they can regroup, and they've watched the film. They got that over with, but now they've got some confidence that they can go and compete these next 4 games. But yes, 2-2, I'm happy with what we looked at before the season, but I'm not happy with how this last game played out, because the momentum that BYU carried in from the USC game really kind of took a step back, I feel like, against Washington. But the good thing is that this month of, this tough 4-game stretch is over with, and now you regroup and get ready for another tough 4 games, knowing that then your last 4, that's where you're going to get your stats and get some rest. And, San Diego State is going to be a fun game at the end of this year to finish with. Yeah. And then, of course, we'll see, what happens with the bowl game.
Yeah. Hawaii Bowl penciled in, likely the destination for BYU should they be bowl eligible, and they will be. Let's look at what BYU has in front of them in terms of the next couple of games, obviously, in Toledo and this matchup, specifically at linebacker. So Keenan Peely misses the game. Chaz Ayu and Isaiah Kafusi banged up, didn't play fully. Tyler Algier switches from running back to linebacker suddenly and forces a fumble, but that level of desperation is like a yellow flag in terms of the injuries to that position. And Algier did fine, but he was in the game very early. He must have been good in high school at that position or something, right?
Well, he's just an athlete. I mean, he's gone back and forth between running back and linebacker. Kavika Fanua. I mean, here's the thing about this linebacker core. Yes, they've been dinged up, but you look at Max Tooley coming in and getting the turnover.
Aside from stretching the ball out from the 5,
we won't talk about that. We've already talked enough about that. We've exasperated that one. But then of course you have Peyton Wilgar as well. I mean, you got
a great plan. The fake field goal.
Yep, and then of course interception against USC. So these are guys that are developing pretty well, and I think BYU coming into the season we were worried about depth because you weren't sure who's going to be the starting middle linebacker, but now we have that pretty much solidified, even though you got Algiers rotating in. But I think this linebacker core there is some depth there, and you've got some of these young guys that have stepped up, which is pretty rare. It's rare to have freshmen come in and be able to contribute the way Tooley and Wilgar have. And so
in those games.
In those games, yeah, big
playing,
games,
right?
Big games, exactly. So it tells you a lot about those guys and in that linebacker mean room. So hopefully they can keep stepping up, because they're going to have to rotate in and out. When you've got shoulder injuries and injuries like we see with these guys, with Chaz and Isaiah, those things get dinged up real quick. You hit one hit and all of a sudden it goes numb on you and you got to run off. So to have those guys ready and be game ready to rotate in is a huge luxury that BYU would have to rely on. And it adds depth in order to give guys breathers as well. But yeah, they're going to need that for these next 4 games, because all these teams are going to test BYU, especially when you look at the film. And you look at what Washington did, they beat BYU both running the ball and passing the ball. And so BYU's got to make teams one-dimensional, and that means you've got to stop the run. And then, of course, you try to throw them in, make them into third and long situations and force them to throw on the ball. And then that's where you come back with the athletic linebackers that BYU has, and you try to create some turnovers and get some picks.
Okay, we look forward to more breakdown visually tonight on After Further Review, 7 Eastern Time. David, appreciate the time as always.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
We didn't even have time to get to Taysom and the Saints taking down your Seahawks.
Yeah,
Teddy Bridgewater got most of the reps at quarterback. I was a little disappointed, but
yeah, listen, they got Taysom in a few plays, but yeah, it's a tough deal right now.
Yeah, and
We'll take whatever we can get though.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, David.